Good morning, everyone. We will call the commission to order. First two items is the minutes from the November 15, 2018 meeting, and also the treasurer's report. If there are no adjustments to either one of those, I'd ask for one motion to approve both of them. Motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Action items. We have an introduction of new members.
Sure.
Mike.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to introduce us. I know two for sure are here today, and then two who could not make it. We'll start out with Sharon Arbeiter, who was unable to make it today because when she was appointed to be the representative of Brooklyn Park, she had already had previous travel plans and could not make this meeting. But Sharon is a resident of Brooklyn Park and grew up in the northwest suburbs. She attended Osseo High School. She later obtained her law degree from William Mitchell Law, and she was previously been a para at Travelers Insurance and the Donna Law Firm. And I know she's very excited to be on the commission. She went through the orientation session and is excited to be at our next meeting.
She's somewhere warmer.
Yes, she is somewhere warmer, so that's good. I believe she might even be out of the country somewhere warmer. Also want to introduce Charlie Brose over here with his hand up. Charlie is an elected member to the NWCT board by the NWCT members. Charlie is a resident of Brooklyn Center and has been involved in making programs through the CREATE department for nearly 4 years. Charlie founded a charitable organization that provides adapted recreational sports opportunities for adults with disabilities. Charlie is also the treasurer of the Minnesota Association of Adapted Athletics, so welcome, Charlie. Mike Elliott, who is the brand new mayor of Brooklyn Center, he served on the Charter Commission and was a board member of the Community Emergency Assistance Program, or CEAP. Mike could not be here today. He mentioned to me that he was invited to the White House. So he texted me late last night and said, so I don't know, he kind of like weighed, do I go to the White House, do I go to the Cable Commission meeting? So he decided at least this time to go to the White House. He founded a group called Fast Forward Education in 2002 to help improve student achievement. Mike has been a small business owner for 10 years and a graduate of Hamline University. And I remember reading somewhere that Mike said his very first experience with municipal government was when he was at Brooklyn Center High School and he needed to go and get a permit to have like a car wash to raise funds for the cheerleading squad or some type of event. So that was his first municipal experience, and now he's the mayor. And so that's a very interesting story, and Mike is excited to take part in this commission as well. And last but not least, Camille Hepela, right over here. Camille, welcome, representing the City of Brooklyn Park both on the Cable Commission and NWCT. Camille is the communications manager for the City of Brooklyn Park and a resident of the City of Plymouth. Camille has been a reporter and anchor at KARE 11 and also has worked at stations in Austin and Houston, Texas. And in addition, Camille has been a spokesperson for the district attorney in Houston. So welcome, Camille. That's it.
Welcome. Next item is the depositories of public funds and public investments. It's attachment number 4.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is just mainly a housekeeping item, just a recommendation that the Cable Commission and Northwest Community Television Board designate Wells Fargo and Wings Credit Union as our depositories for our regular operating funds, and the designation for investments. Depositories include Wells Fargo Securities and Harbor Investments, and the Northwest Suburbs Cable Communications Commission, Northwest Community Television Board authorize officers to act for and on behalf of the Commission and Board for these funds, and those would be myself and Commissioner Helen LaFave as treasurer. And we just need some action on that to approve that.
Ask for a motion for that item.
Move approval.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
And second. Any questions from anybody regarding this item? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, attachment Number 5 is proposed budget amendments, carryover from the 2018 budget. Mike?
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff is proposing 2 budget changes in the 2019 Cable Commission budget. Just, again, these are carryover, not asking for new funds. We just want to take the funds and move them over to 2018. Because we just meet quarterly, we had to make a decision late in the year to just move this into the 2019 budget. One is this Comcast subscriber audit that is ongoing. Mike Bradley, our lawyer representing the commission, is working with the auditing firm, and actually was able to save us a substantial amount of money, because what Mike did was ended up getting a group of local franchise authorities to do auditing. I mean, we're all going to be individually audited, but we did kind of a group RFP, so to speak. But it's going to take some time, because it's a big deal, and so it could not all be done within that calendar year. So we're recommending to move the rest of the funds over. And then the other thing is we had a building generator and then a new digital controls for our HVAC system. We decided the building generator went way over estimates. And so we bid twice, and that kind of just slowed the whole process down. But we are going to move forward or recommending that we move forward with this HVAC system where it's all digital controls, because we are wasting a lot of energy in this building. We have an old, outdated it's called a pneumatic control system. I learned a lot about operating a building when you're an executive director, all the little technical details. But the pneumatic control system is really outdated. It's hard to get parts, and the digital control allows individual control of office areas. And Jamie, who's our technician, who's in the other room directing this program right now, has the ability that if for some reason upset him in any way, he could turn up the heat in my office because there's an app for it. But anyway, in all seriousness, this will end up in itself paying for, because it'll pay for itself over time because of the energy savings. And again, this was approved in last year's budget. And actually, overall, we're going to spend a lot less, because we decided to take the generator out of that budget and just focus on the digital controls. We're just looking for your approval to move those funds into 2019.
Entertain a motion for that item? Motion's been made. Is there a second? Someone second? Oh, Bill, okay. Any further discussion on that item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Closed caption report. Mr. Bradley.
Okay, Mr. Chair and members, good morning. You might remember early last year, you authorized the commission to move forward and analyze closed captioning requirements under the FCC and ADA laws. And we put together a group to do that. You were part of a large group of cities that all went forward with that in the metro area. And so our staff, Vince Brody from my office, myself, a consultant from Municipal Captioning, got together and ultimately put together the report that's in your packet that goes over the FCC and ADA closed captioning requirements and what the commission needs to do to make sure that they're in compliance with those 2 laws. Just as a summary, there are laws in the Cable Act and through FCC regulations that require closed captioning, but really access organizations like this organization are exempt from those particular laws. And so we really are currently in full compliance with FCC requirements. The ADA is different, and that's really what our report focuses in on. And so we're required to provide what they call effective communications under the ADA law for all government-produced programming. And so that's what the report talks about. There are exceptions to providing closed captioning under the ADA law, and that's if if providing that type of service is too much of a financial or administrative burden. And so we kind of go over all those different things as well. And then we went over pricing in a lot of detail, actually, through municipal captioning to kind of give the commission some ideas of different packages that could work. The action today really is just to receive and file this report and then direct staff to develop a compliance plan, over the coming months.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bradley? If not, like a motion to receive and file a report? Oh, Jim.
If we accept the report, then Mike, what are you going to do in terms of, what kind of guidance are you taking into account with respect to costs to meet the ADA requirements?
Commissioner Willis, one of the things we'll be doing, obviously, as part of this, putting together this plan is then, what I would like to see is that we implement this plan in baby steps and then, take it and do like an experiment city at some point. Because this year, we don't have any funds budgeted in 2019 for this. And from what I understand from our council, is that we don't really have to implement anything like immediately, but we do have to show a plan. And I think part of the plan will also show some type of budgetary outline, so to speak, in terms of how we end up paying for it and implementing it. So if we implement it ultimately in baby steps, we can have the money flow that way.
Do you have any idea how long this might be before you'd be able to come back with a report and recommendations?
Well, in terms of the plan, I know because we've got so much going on with our strategic planning and we have very limited time at our May meeting, it could end up being next fall, which would also coincide with the budget, and then we'd have it done.
Thank you.
Bill?
So on page 14 of your report, you recommend a certain link, automatic captioning machine. It has 10 years of warranty and 10 years of support. When you come back, not today necessarily, just give us an indication of, is the company that gives the warranty and the support likely to be around for 10 years?
That's a very good question. Thank you.
I didn't read the entire report. I was about, what does it apply to? Like,
See what
happens when it takes- when you start asking
questions, other people
would it apply to video segments? Would it apply to the broadcast of city council meetings, or what?
Yes.
Yes, to
All of those?
Yeah, because they're all produced by the government.
Which is different than traditional public
And that'd
access
be
GRADE
different than
program.
GRADE program.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Helen?
does that all happen through here, like with council meetings, because they'll stream through here? Would it
I'm going to
be-
have to turn that over to Tim Gaffron, who's been working directly on this with Mike.
Yeah, I guess the question
Yeah.
is, does it have to be at each city hall, or does it, because it streams through here, it'd be here?
We would have to install equipment at each city hall,
Okay.
as well as equipment here for the CCX1 channel and anything that we do on any of the other channels. So yes, it will involve installations at all of our 9 city halls and duplicating equipment purchases 9 times.
Okay,
So
thank you.
it's not an insignificant expense.
Other questions? If not, I'd like to have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Legal update, Mr. Bradley.
Okay. Well, there continue to be a lot of things going on in the telecommunications world. It just seems like this last 2 years has just been kind of crazy. But you're aware of most of them because I've reported on them in the past. But just to give you a reminder, the FCC passed a new, or released a new wireless order that you're probably all aware of relating to small cell facilities. That order became effective on January 15th of this year. There's a requirement in that order that if a city wants to have aesthetic standards and undergrounding standards relating to small cell facilities, those standards need to be adopted and published by April 15th of this year. The wireless order itself is kind of a fascinating kind of a legal appeal process. It's been appealed in multiple places. Right now, it's pending before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals as well as the DC Court of Appeals. We're kind of waiting for that all to sort out. My guess is it's eventually all going to be at the Ninth Circuit. But there was a brief stop at the 10th Circuit as well. So it's been very interesting to follow. There's also been a request for reconsideration made at the FCC level, which we were kind of hoping that wouldn't happen, so that everything would be just handled at the Court of Appeals. But that is also pending. Requests for stays of the order were filed and denied in the 10th Circuit. I think they're renewing those motions now in the Ninth Circuit, but I haven't heard, if and when those are going to be heard. So right now, the order is in effect for sure. Our firm did put together a model ordinance for cities, a standalone model ordinance just relating to small cell facilities. I forwarded that on to Mike, and so Mike will be forwarding that on to your city managers in the future if you wish to participate in that. Since the wireless order, and I think since our last meeting, a new piece of legislation in Congress has been introduced, and it's H.R. 530. And it's a bill called Accelerating Wireless Broadband Deployment by Empowering Local Communities Act of 2019. Just rolls off the tongue. And what that act does is it essentially would void the wireless order at the FCC. And so that's receiving a lot of support nationally through the National League of Cities and through NATOA. We're in a little bit difficult spot here because we have this state law that also preempts local governments. So we have a state law that preempts local governments, and we have this federal wireless order that preempts local governments. But it makes some sense, I think, for perhaps the Minnesota, the League of Minnesota Cities and our MACTA group, which is the local chapter of NATOA, to indicate support for that with our Minnesota congressional delegation. And so they're in the process of doing that right now. So that's H.R. 530. On the cable franchising notice of proposed rulemaking, you'll remember that was a proposed rulemaking by the FCC to change the way franchise fees are calculated, essentially allowing cable operators to reduce from what has always been a monetary gross revenue fee, but they're allowing an offset of all non-monetary considerations. So that would be things like institutional networks, distribution lines between city halls and this facility, complimentary cable service, all the non-monetary stuff that's in a cable franchise. And so the impact would be, very large. This commission participated with a large group again to submit comments. I think at our last meeting we shared the comments with you, and since then, on December 14th, we filed reply comments as well. And they've gotten a lot of notice on the federal or on the national seen. We've gotten a lot of comments, positive comments from other local government entities, and I know that the cable industry took notice as well, as we were mentioned in their reply comments. They didn't agree with our, surprisingly. But anyway, it was good that, that we had that recognition. So everything is in front of the commission now. So the comments are in, reply comments are in. The FCC, could act at any time, or it could decide not to act. It's really going to be up to them. There are still opportunities to put evidence into the record through ex parte communications, and so a lot of cities the cities that didn't participate are being asked to do that. Of course, you did participate, so you're not being asked to do that. MACTA is in the process of addressing a number of Minnesota cities that were named as kind of quote-unquote bad actors by one of the cable industry associations in their reply comments. So there was, roughly about, maybe 50 cities listed, and that's including cities that are part of cable commissions. So anyway, that will be, going forward through MACTA, and really when I look at that list, and I've looked at every single one of them now, there was no bad acting at all by these cities. The complaints are about cable franchises that were willingly negotiated between a cable operator and a city, or an assessment of needs by a city and then submitted to a cable operator. All of that is completely contemplated in the Cable Act. There's absolutely nothing inappropriate that any of these cities that were named in the reply comments at all. And we'll be explaining that in the ex parte letter. So that's what's going on with the cable franchising notice of proposed rulemaking. You may have noticed at the end of December, the Attorney General brought a lawsuit against Comcast alleging fraudulent and deceptive sales practices. And that matter is still pending. I haven't seen the answer by Comcast yet. And I don't know exactly where it's at, other than the lawsuit has been served. But if those allegations are true, obviously it would be a violation of federal law and state law, and that would also be a violation of your cable franchise. So that is something that we're obviously going to be keeping an eye on. My only recommended action there is to perhaps follow up with Comcast and urge compliance with state and federal law and your cable franchise. And with that, I think that's enough.
All good
Happy to take
news.
any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Bradley? Okay, attachment number 8 is communication. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just want to point out a couple of things. I'm not going to read any of it, but I just want to get it into the record that we had a notice from CenturyLink about some price increases. And, I might just quickly turn this over to Mike and just ask about any late information, because I know a CenturyLink representative was on a MACTA call recently, which I was privy to, and in terms of them continuing on in the market. So can you just give us a quick update on that?
So, as most of you know, we have a cable franchise with CenturyLink. CenturyLink has indicated, really in multiple different occasions, that they are not going to be carrying on with Prism long term. And so we've been working directly with CenturyLink on, figuring out how that's going to work with upcoming renewals and things like that. And we're working on a document right now with CenturyLink to kind of have an orderly transition, so we don't have to worry about franchise compliance, because, I think technically they may be out of compliance with their cable franchise, with what they're doing or not doing presently in the market. But rather than, trying to go through a big compliance process, we just thought it made a lot more sense to just kind of work with them on a orderly transition, through the remainder of the franchise, and then not have to worry about going through expenses and things like that when we hit renewal. So that's
Okay.
what's happening with Century Link
Perfect.
right now.
All right, and again, this is mainly just an announcement of a price increase because they're just following along and trying to follow along in the franchise agreement that, we would be notified of those things. The next thing is just a short letter from Carly Werner about some changes with a Latino channel on Xfinity. The next one after that is OTT. It says why OTT is a PEG game changer, and it's something we're looking into. OTT stands for over-the-top television, and it's something we are actually doing right now. We haven't really promoted it heavily, but our technical staff, Sean Christie and Jamie and others are involved in making this happen. We're in the final stages of having our branded icon that is available and searchable on, say, Apple TV boxes and Roku boxes, so we could be everywhere, because that's kind of a key thing. We need to be in many different places. Of course, there's a lot of content on the internet, but the over-the-top is a big deal for many respects. And it's not just viewable if you have one of these devices like a Roku box or an Apple TV or Amazon Fire Stick or Google Chrome. There's a lot of smart TVs out there that might even have software built into it, minus the separate box. Or you can watch just regular YouTube TV on your smart TV without necessarily needing an OTT separate box. So the other one is this NBC Universal announces a direct-to-consumer streaming service. Again, everything is shifting in the industry, going online, on demand, and we've been going along with that process because you have to be where the consumers are seeking content. And I think we're way ahead of that game, and so happy that we took the steps we did many years ago to be involved with that. And then there's just a little article about 5G hype, and now there's some confusion about 10G. So this is just an interesting little piece about the industry being careful about not overhyping now 10G. We haven't even gotten to 5G. And then I also included, always including now these quarterly reports. These are the official financial reports from Comcast. And very interesting reading about where the money's coming in. And if you drill down in the report, you'll see traditional cable type revenue going down, but internet revenue keeps going up because no matter what, I talked about these smart boxes or OTT, you still need internet to do it. And most people in the very basic form are going to have internet service. And so Comcast is doing quite well in terms of internet hookups. And we want to be there for those customers in the northwest suburbs who just subscribe to internet, that they can still see our programming. And finally, not going to go through the big predictions about media, but I thought it's just some interesting read for those of you interested in technology and what some people are saying in terms of predictions for the future across all the media sectors. So that's in there, and that pretty much completes the communications.
Any questions for Mike? Bill?
Do we still have the quarterly Century Link meetings to see if they're complying with the franchise ordinance agreement? And maybe if we don't,
Yeah.
maybe there's a good reason why, and I
Right.
think there probably is.
There is, yeah. We had kind of multiple quarters where it was the same story. And we saw that the numbers were going down, and CenturyLink wasn't making an effort of really marketing the product anymore. And so we just thought, it's just a kind of a waste of the commission's resources to continue with those meetings if the story was always going to be the same. And that's why we started having these other conversations about kind of an easy transition.
So those targets that they set and promised in writing, they're not making those targets. They're not even coming close, maybe.
Well, they've, I think they've come close, or they've exceeded the very bare minimum requirements, but they haven't made any dent in penetration numbers.
So technically, on the numbers, they're probably not out of compliance.
They may not be, but I think there's also requirements in the franchise that they need to use their best efforts to hit those penetration rates, and
They've given
there's an
up.
argument there that they're not doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Bradley or Mike? If not,
Just a comment, Chair. I have a Roku TV at home, and I got on there and I was watching CCX right at
He
home,
texted
outside
me,
of-
he said, Mike,
right
I
outside
can't
of the
believe it,
area."
I'm watching a sporting event right now on
Yeah,
your channel.
I did.
So,
That's great.
and that's the power of the internet and this OTT, over-the-top television, that you can watch it anywhere, so.
Came in
So
perfect.
welcome to.
Came in perfect HD. It
Yeah.
was great. Yeah, very good.
Thank the staff who put it together, because they're amazing technical crew to make that happen.
anything else to come before the commission? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried. And before I forget, there's an executive committee meeting following this meeting today.
Okay,
Okay, all yours.
so now we're switching over to the Board of Directors meeting. The first thing on our agenda are the consent items, being the minutes of November 18th, 2018, and approval of the treasurer's report. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes. Action items, similar to the previous meeting.
Correct, Madam Chair. I won't read through this because we just did in the other meeting, but basically the recommendation for the depository of public funds and investments, which mirrors everything that we're doing with the Cable Commission, we would be doing for Northwest Community Television.
Okay, any questions? Is there a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the budget amendments. Is this the same?
These are a little bit different,
Little different.
Madam Chair. One is just moving the nonprofit consultant. Again, the process started, but it's going to be quite a long process. And we are actually moving the budget down significantly on that. And again, these were pre-approved funds, just moving them to 2018. And then on the capital side, for equipment replacement, for 2019, for capital equipment and replacement, this is an interesting one because with the changing technology, we're all slated to basically purchase a system that was able to work with our traditional playback system in terms of scheduling, programming, and that type of thing. And we thought, let's put this on hold for a little bit and take a look at this and see what the future's going to bring in terms of, will this help us in terms of monetizing down the road here, monetizing YouTube, video clips, and anything we put out on the internet, because we're going to need that ability to do sponsorships and that type of thing, not only on the channel itself, but on everything we put on the internet. And so we just paused for a little bit. Again, the funds were approved last year, and we decided to just move these into 2019, because since that time, we have found a solution for that, which we will be implementing over time, because it's a critical thing for getting additional funding down the road. So we're just asking for approval for moving, again, these funds from 2018 to 2019.
Okay, is there a motion to move those budget items to 2019?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Okay, resolution accepting a donation.
Yes, Madam Chair, attached is the donation was received from the Medtronic Foundation Volunteer Grant Program in the amount of $500. This donation is made possible thanks to the volunteer efforts of board member Daryl Sanis, who retired from Medtronic after many years of service. And the Medtronic Foundation Volunteer Grant Program recognizes civic and volunteer engagement by its current and retired employees, which allows them to designate funds to a nonprofit organization which they are volunteering for. And Commissioner Sanis volunteers for lots of organizations, and we're just happy he decided to have those funds come to our organization. And so we're very happy with that. And so we want to recognize Board Member Sanis for choosing Northwest Community Television as a recipient. And then we'll also be sending an acknowledgement and thank you note to the Medtronic Foundation once the resolution is passed, accepting this donation amount.
Okay, thank you, Daryl. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Annual report.
Yes, we're very excited about our latest and greatest annual report. We actually I think we ended up being able to squeeze more into less pages, and so you won't have as many pages as last time. But I want to point out the cover. You see it on the big screen here, and you see it before you in this nice little, it's basically a PowerPoint presentation put into a report, and I want to thank Wendy for doing all the legwork and working with our staff and everybody involved in putting this together, and all their names are in the back. But we thought, oh, what the heck, this is kind of the winter of snow. So last year we had the exact same photo, but it was like a nice, but not a winter scene, we had a nice fall scene. So I know we're being inundated. We already had like 31 inches of snow in February, so, oh, what the heck, we thought, let's put that on the report cover. And there you have it. So, so let's get right into the report itself, which is also going to come up on the screen. I'm certainly not going to read my letter. The main thing I pointed out here is that, you know, one of the things in the vision statement is being known by all, because we really do want to be known by as many people as possible. Will every single person in the Northwest Suburbs know us? That would, or at least every household. It is definitely a lofty goal, but like I said, I've read a lot of mission and vision statements, and people put out a vision there, and it may not be fully attainable, but then if you're doing things to get there, then that will help better your process of being known by all. And we're doing so many things. All the things you see in here are all things that get us to be, more known by people. So that's just my little opening cover letter there. And of course, the next page is almost like a yearbook. We've got our cable commission members there. The class of 2018 are all listed. Yeah.
We're so handsome.
Okay, and then Northwest Community Television Board of Directors yearbook there, yearbook photos. And thank you all for helping out there. Got to keep up with Shannon is controlling the PowerPoint in the other room, so we're going to try to sync this all up. We want to thank, of course, we're recognizing the board members who had certain anniversaries. Phil Leith at 10 years, Marcia Glick at 20 years, Joni at 5, and George at 5. So thank you very much, and it's a good-looking group of people up there. So now you're permanently printed right here, right now. All right, now let's move on to news. And we basically, this time, oh wait, you know what? I forgot the mission vision statement. That we'll always put in the report. You see it there, and it's a constant reminder, because what I said in my cover letter was that it's one thing to produce a mission vision statement, and how often are those things put in a file somewhere, and then you never look at it. We have these big signs all over the building at both main entrances, on plexiglass signs, that you can't miss it. And so all the details in that are right there. So next slide, we'll move on. And basically this year we're putting the report in the order that we promote the sub-brands, which is news, sports, cities, and create. So we'll start with news. early on, our new news director, Shannon Slatton, and we're working with Dave and others on staff, came up with kind of a commitment to the areas that we want to cover. So this is a new document we never had before, but this is almost like when you think about a mission and vision statement. This is actually, you know, front and center in the newsroom. These are things we want to cover. We, first and foremost, we do lots of people stories, all kinds of stories about cities and local government, education, business, nonprofit and volunteers, our local lawmakers, diversity, employment, transportation, public safety, age group issues. You know, I'm getting old, I'm getting older, and there are issues related to age that cities deal with that we want to talk about and engage the residents. And the other is, of course, the ongoing development and redevelopment that we have in our city. So I want to thank Shannon and Dave and the staff for putting together this document. Next page is some hello and goodbye. So this was a kind of a very interesting year. We had this major transition. So Mike Johnson, the other Mike Johnson, who was here for a very long time, decided to retire at the same time that his spouse did, and so he retired last summer. And Alexandra Renslow, who was the assistant news director and anchor, always had a dream of being a teacher, and so she's going to school now and wants to be a teacher. And I think she told me she would love to be a teacher in an international school somewhere in another country. So both of them are gone. They both had a major impact on the news over the years. There is a little less confusion with the old Mike Johnson thing going on for like 15 years. Which one do you want to talk to? People answering the phone don't even need to ask that question anymore because I'm the only Mike Johnson left. But there's still a lot of them in the phone book, I guarantee it. Although who reads the phone book anymore? We want to welcome Meredith Hackler, too. She's one of the newer reporters here who came up from Illinois. And one of the photos on there is Shannon, Mike passing the baton or the golden microphone over to Shannon to take over the news department. So, and in that, on the next page, we've got all the different kinds of, you know, news stories we've covered. We had 247 newscasts and 49 weekend newscasts. The Monday through Friday shows are recorded at 4, and there's been a lot of changes just implemented this year, which both Dave and Shannon will be talking about a little bit later on in terms of how we're doing news, especially in light of the fact that we're trying to do more things. We're obviously doing a lot of things online, but the flexibility of creating content and not waiting to a 4 o'clock show to get it out, but maybe produce it earlier and deliver it and put it out on the internet or social media so people can see it sooner rather than later. The next page talks about the various franchise segments that we've been doing, and there's been quite a few of them that have been mainstays for a long time, like Business Matters. School Spotlight was introduced in 2017, which is a major success. Standout Student's been going on for a very long time, also a major success. Weekend Showcase, Neil Persley does a lot of those, very interesting reports on various things happening in the arts side of things within our area. Backyard Getaways in the summer was very interesting, and then a whole segment on what I learned in summer camp. And also one of my favorites is the old Off the Clock series, which was interesting because we basically, I think we want two examples is the New Hope mayor. You know, one of the things Kathy Hempkin likes to do is she likes sports cars. So we rode around in her is it a Dodge Challenger or something that. So we talked to her and what she does when she's not being the mayor, and she's big into gardening. And we also rode along with a I think it was a assistant police chief who spends time working with kids and going fishing to kind of show the human side of police officers. So that was a very successful segment. I'm sure we'll bring it back this summer. The series, and Shannon and her team and Dave deserve a lot of credit for a lot of these things that just happened within this last year. These are things, so, you know, that we did not necessarily do in the past, but the idea is to allow for more time. You know, it's not like everything should just be a 1 minute or a 2 minute story. Some of these things are like 3 or 4 or even 5-part segments to spend time and dive deep into issues, whether it be about, you know, building trust in cops in the community, or talking about the worker shortage, which is a really big deal and ongoing deal for businesses. And then diversity. We're always talking about diversity. We're always trying to drill down and help out with that subject, and how cities and schools deal with diversity. Construction, road work, all that. Silver Tsunami, I was talking about age group issues. Well, the Silver Tsunami was a 3-part series in November that talked about the rapidly growing 65-plus population. And then a whole section on the libraries of the future. And then a case with the Crohn's and colitis awareness that our reporter put together on that, and that was Sonia Goins. And finally, we have some specials on the next page of you see those. I won't read through all those, but they are listed that we did. And then a special report. Very proud of the silent struggle, the whole section on talking about mental health. And of course, a special segment on Hollingsworth Park in the city of Robbinsdale. And they did a really great job on that. Of course, election night was a huge deal, and a lot of things came into play there, from all the various candidate segments that we did, the statements. There were literally 86 candidates that came in to record their statements. And then we of course, did all kinds of candidate forums and live election coverage. So the staff did a great job on that. Of course, we do the holiday train every year, and you see that. That's always a fun event. And then, of course, on the next page, we have some of the awards that were, we always love getting that first place award for best local newscast. It's quite an honor, and very proud of the team for doing that. So let's move on to sports real quick. And again, we've kind of pared down the report on the sports side, but basically this is, the sports have done a lot of events. They do their Sports Jam show. We do all the events on site, and we did basically a lot of sports segments within the newscast. And then, of course, we were out, the truck was out and about in communities over 160 times in 2018. So a lot of events, parades, concerts, you name it. You see a picture of some of the crew people down there in the bottom right. Then, of course, every year we have the Hall of Fame. We have 4 new inductees, one from Armstrong, Park Center, Osseo, and Breck. You can see the things that they have accomplished on the sports side. Then on CCX Cities, The Connection, which was just rebranded. It used to be called Community Corner. The Connection program airs daily. And so there were some major revisions made to that. Dave and Ann and Chris and Beth all worked, and Tim Gaffron were involved in kind of rehashing the program and making it more city-specific. I think in the past we'd do some things with other groups, but they did a great job. They also received an honorable mention for the graphics package. When they branded the program, they also received a special award for the graphics that they put together for that. And let's not forget about Mayor's Minutes. So one of my goals last year was trying to, this is my own little personal, it's not like it was written down and something that will be judged on in the future, but I said, I want to get, Dave does these mayor minutes in the studio, and I said, I've got to capture all the mayors within 1 year. And so I successfully was able to do that. When Dave is taping, I say, Dave, just let me know when, say, the Brooklyn Park mayor's in, or the Plymouth mayor. And so they're all listed there, and we had Dave produce 48 segments of the mayor's minutes, and it's a great opportunity for the mayors to just take a few minutes and say what's going on in the city. Our Town Story, this is also very engaging history series. Of course, we've already done Robbinsdale and Brooklyn Park, but last year, the debut of the Maple Grove history program. Chair Al Mattson was very involved with that production, and we had a big debut showing, and from what I understand, it's also being used in some history classes, which is very exciting. And after Maple Grove, in fact, Dave and crew are working on, and Matt are working on the Plymouth program. A lot of segments have already been recorded for the city of Plymouth, and so we hope to have that program finalized within the next couple of months here. And I know Commissioner Willis is involved in that and will be on the program. And so that will be exciting to see the Plymouth program. And then after that, Golden Valley's next. And I know Dave's been meeting with folks from Golden Valley about their history program. So again, more exciting things. Then, of course, candidate forums and other events that have been covered within the city. There were 16 candidate forum events at 10 different venues, and those are all listed right there. The Channel 16 cable cast system. A lot goes into making that Channel 16 work, and this is just like a screenshot of our multi-viewer of all the different city channels, and then of course the CCX media channels, which is there's just a lot of work goes in behind the scenes to make that all operate. And then web streaming of city meetings is an ongoing thing of watching meetings using Granicus. And some of the cities are using this iLegislate feature, and that has gone very well. And then we also, Tim is working directly on City Hall chamber projects. The New Hope is the biggest project right now, as you see there. You see some construction photos. Things are really coming together there, and so we're deeply involved with that, Tim, and working with consultants to make that happen. And I believe Golden Valley has also hired some folks to begin the process of doing some remodeling there. So that's all the things under cities. Then moving on to Create. This is actually the official Create studio that we're in right now, and then we have a smaller one next door. So a lot of programming comes out of the Create department. I am sitting at a spot where polka dancers, and you are too, will be going around this studio and in unison, and all kinds of different things. There's lots of shows. I've seen cooking shows, polka shows, interview shows, you name it. It has happened here in this studio. So if the walls could talk, but we have a lot of history right here in this studio. And then you see on the next slide, in terms of Create, the department offers all the local residents and organizations, the training to develop skills to produce programming. We have several producers right in here now. Zipporah Masese, who's one of our board members, and Charlie Brose, of course, is a regular producer of programs, as well as Sue Ellen Zagrabelny, who is very involved with creating programs here. So we see them here a lot. They're very engaged in creating programs for the community. So, and you see some of their, Charlie, you're in there too. You made the report right there. Then something big that happened last year was the remodel of this side of the building. You notice it when you come in. You see it really turned out quite nice. So there was a lot of planning that went into that. Tamisha Toure from our staff was deeply involved in working with the architects, and that project went very well. It's definitely a lot more welcoming in the building with some of the little facelift that we did, so to speak, all within our footprint. No major construction, though, just basically, making things look a little bit better within that remodel project. The CCX team has various projects going on. This nonprofit outreach is a big deal that started in 2018, and there'll be a lot more going on in 2019, so I won't go too far into that. I know Barb's going to mention that a little bit in a brief update. But they also implemented this Gov Delivery. Gov Delivery is a very important thing that we use every year, not every year, almost every day, to get information out to the community and our stakeholders in terms of, we use it to promote programs, but mainly we're using it to, on the news side and others, even on here, you can send out links and people can watch programming using this Gov Delivery system. District 281 Summer Academy staff offered this, and I remember all these guys being around, weekend summer session breaking news, focusing on the basics of news gathering. So it's great. I mean, you never know. Some of these young people, I mean, because of this experience, may end up being a reporter someday, a journalist. So you got to start somewhere. I know I got my interest in being an intern one time. This was many years ago. And then now I'm going, hey, how did this all happen? Now I'm like the executive director here. So it very well could happen for some of these kids who are interested, early on. And we've got lots of stories of people who have gone through the create department who have gone on to some big things, around the country in terms of producing. So it's really been quite interesting. And finally, Tamisha Toure is taken over all the basic scheduling of the CCX Create channels, and that has helped things go very smoothly because she's familiar with the producers, the programs, and so we think we've done a much better job of airing programs out on the channels. And then finally, they've got the programming year in photos. And again, this is just scratching the surface, the tip of the iceberg of all the different things you would see on Create. So they had 930 shows and 712 hours of programming. So we want to thank our Create staff for working with the community on that. And then finally, the supplemental information here in digital video statistics. There's just some pictures here. We helped out with Feed My Starving Children. In fact, we're sending out a team today to the Feed My Starving Children mobile pack to go help out. We'd like to give back in the community. We're also a media partner too, so we do get, we help them publicize the event, and in turn they publicize, they'll put up signs and say that CCX Media is a partner. Hollywood actor Steve Zahn he was in a lot of movies. If you Google him, you'll see that he was in a lot of movies, but he went to Cooper High School. He was in their theater program, and he stopped by, and Delane Cleveland from our staff interviewed him. He was in town for getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he had to chuckle a little bit because he's still pretty young. I mean, I think he's in his 40s, and he already got this Lifetime Achievement Award, and he's still got a lot of life left. So anyway, I had the opportunity to sit down with Bill Weir, who does a program here in Create. We taped this over in the other studio. We just talked about topics related to community media. And then Shannon implemented this new Lunch and Learn. We've done a couple of them now, and that's an opportunity for staff to hear from other professionals in the industry and learn new things that they can then take those ideas and implement them in their everyday work life here. And a good picture of John and Jay with two Olympic hockey players from Plymouth is there. And then on the next page, we had a group of tourists from Liberia in the studio. And I had the opportunity with Javi Cedillo to attend an event about immigrant programming in the community. And then down lower left is one of our commissioners, Helen Lefebvre, with outgoing Mayor Kelly Slavic on her final Mayor's Minute interview with Dave Kaiser. And then I had the opportunity to learn about, we've talked a lot about 5G, and I learned quite a bit about it at the NTOA conference. I was on the national board for NTOA, and so I was able to get these demonstrations of 5G technology, which was very interesting. And then moving on quickly, we have the channel guide. And I think over time we may phase out those CenturyLink as things start to, as more and more subscribers tend not to be with the CenturyLink system anymore. We probably won't do too much promotion on it because eventually those will all be going away, but all the other channels are listed there. And then the next page just talks about the CCX Media website launch. This is a huge thing that was implemented in the beginning of the year. Last year, and it really has paid off in big dividends in terms of engaging viewers in our content. You see the website visits too. We had a period of time, and this is a combination of the branding change, but also kind of an outdated website. So we had a dip in 2017 and then got those numbers back up significantly in 2018 in terms of our average per month website visits we're up to 16,092 visits, and we are working on ways to even get that number higher. So it is a sign and shows engagement within the community, and so it's an important number to look at. The next important number to look at is views across all of our platforms. So we talked a little bit about, YouTube before, but really where there are multiple platforms that we put our programming on, beyond the channel itself, because the channel does reach 40% to 50% of the people in the northwest suburbs, and this is our way of reaching people beyond just the 40 or 50% of the people that have cable. And we use YouTube, Granicus, Livestream, and Facebook. And the growth has just been, I'll have to show a long-term chart at some point as we start putting all the platforms together, but we saw over a million view increase between 2017 and 2018, and a lot of that too was due to really taking hold of Facebook and natively uploading clips to Facebook and having those shared. Of course, we did the school spotlights, which we'll talk about in a moment. That helped drive more viewers, and a lot of those things were put on Facebook. So you can see, this is a significant thing. I spoke at a conference recently, and people were looking at these numbers and were wowed by what kind of engagement we have here. I mean, it is amazing. And this crew, it's this team effort that makes it all happen by getting these clips out there, these encoded clips. And this doesn't, at this point, we talked earlier about create, because we cannot say have all the analytics and control over what individual create producers have, but they are producing a lot of content that ends up online that has significant views as well. So this is just the content that's coming out of here and out of our city halls, like the meetings and all that. So again, we topped 5.3 million views. And then here's just the ongoing line chart for YouTube or online viewers. And again, that was the total of that was 4.4 million. And again, all the rest of those clips that we just talked about a moment ago would have been through those other platforms. But so I don't know. I mean, we've been climbing fast. It's possible that we could plateau here at some point. When I look at it, it's an extremely impressive number when you consider we're just a small little organization in the northwest suburbs of Minneapolis. So, but it's something to be proud of. And then the next one is Facebook followers. This again is an engagement thing, and this has been increased dramatically over between 2016 and 2018. You see followers of CCX Media and then Create. So there's almost 5,000 followers on Facebook, and that's an impressive number, and that keeps growing. And then I talked earlier about Gov Delivery, and we now have total subscribers 2,775 with a total subscriptions of 10,000. The key number, I think, is subscribers. That's like real people and a real number. And the subscriptions are as well, but the subscriptions mean that of the 2,775 subscribers, some people are taking multiple subscriptions of different content categories. So if I live in the city of Plymouth and I want Plymouth City news, but I also might want Wayzata high school information, or I might want to look at my neighboring city to the north, Maple Grove. So that means they have multiple subscriptions. And then the next page is Twitter, and you see all the numbers there. I won't go into all the details. Other than that, the numbers are growing there as well. And then finally, this is kind of one of those things of not to do, like how not to put together a PowerPoint, but I wanted to put the raw data here just because you can read it. It's easier to read in the book itself. That between the total school spotlight views through 2018 was 191,000. That is significant. If you add up the YouTube and the Facebook count total, we had 92,862 views in YouTube and then 98,691 on Facebook. So in this particular case, Facebook, had more viewers than YouTube, but Facebook does have that more sharing capability, especially when you upload the clips, and then people within the school, the PR people at the school would upload it to Facebook, and then that's how we ended up gaining that viewership. So very successful, very impressive numbers, and again, more engagement in the community. And then a couple last, just regular, more raw data pages that I know some of our members like to have and copy in terms of looking at like website visits. Then the next one is broadcast of city meetings. I know some of the board members, commissioners like to copy this and have that data. So we just put it on plain white so you can, it's easy to copy. And then the web streaming views as well. We discovered, I think it was back in November, we were wondering why some of the numbers were low. And then Tim made a call to the Granicus people and said, yeah, hey, is there something going on here? Because our numbers just don't add up. And evidently there was a problem. But when they first talked to him, they said, no, everything's working fine here. Well, sure enough, I think they got back to Tim, a week later and said, Tim, you're right. We do have, there was a software glitch. So unfortunately, we have half of the month of November and the entire month of December with no actual statistics. So that doesn't mean people weren't viewing. We just don't have the raw data to put in there. So those numbers will be down. And then finally, I had to show that snowy picture one more time. Just that, I don't know if it's a painful memory, but these are all the people who worked on the report, a lot of staff involvement. But I think we've got it down to a science. And again, thanks to Wendy for all of her work on that. And it's a nice keepsake. And we'll also, after you accept this report, we'd like to put it up on our website. And then we also mail them out to the mayors of all the cities as well, and then get those handed out in other places. So does anybody have any questions? I know I took quite a while, but yes.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say how much I enjoyed reading this. I love the design, the graphics, the pictures. It's easy to, read, and I just think it's very impressive.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to staff that put it together. Yeah, and I'm glad, because one of the things that at this seminar, people said, you do an annual report? I go, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you tell people, your board, all the great things you did in the last year? Because that's basically, it's all consolidated into this little report here, and let other people know, and that's why we put it on our website. So thank you.
It just was fun to look at, and I loved looking at the pictures, and it just was so easy to read, where a lot of annual reports, it's just, statistics and data.
Yeah, I
But
see.
this was really fun to look at.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
So we want a motion to accept the report?
Right.
So we're looking for a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Moved second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Strategic plan timeline.
Yes, I just want to quickly mention this. I've attached is the timeline for our strategic plan process. We are going to have a big meeting here in March. It'll be the third Thursday in March. It's all on the schedule here. I think most of you, some of you I know cannot attend, but most of you can. And so we're looking forward to getting your input about the long-term sustainability of the organization. We're involved in a lot of things all at the same time. All of you would have received a link this week or yesterday even. Some of you received a link to the survey. This is very important that you fill out that survey. It won't take long, and I will probably send out reminders, so don't take it personally if I bug you every now and then, because we want to try to wrap this up by March 1st in terms of the survey. It's just a handful of questions, and we just want to get your input on that. So, and then the other thing is Dave is working with the stakeholders group. Dave and Barb and Tamisha are organizing some stakeholder meetings that'll happen over at the City of Crystal Community Center. So all these things will kind of come together, and they're all in the works right now. So between that and having board meetings and board surveys and stakeholder surveys, there'll be a lot happening over the next couple of months. So I didn't know if anybody had any questions about it.
Okay. Any questions? Executive Director report.
Yeah, I am pretty much going to forgo this because of all the things I just covered within the annual report. So what I'm going to do, we just have just a few minutes of reporting from Dave, Shannon, and Barb on just some quick items. Dave is going to talk about that I've listed in the staff report side.
Okay, staff reports, go.
Thank you. Quickly, the Plymouth History Project, as Mike mentioned, coming down to its final couple edits. We are getting together with the group that was involved in the planning of it to have them look through what we call the rough video edit to make sure everything is in order. And then we will do the final pretty work, graphics, intros, all of that. And we hope to have that ready for a debut with Plymouth History Group in the month of March, towards the end of the month of March. And we have already done an interview with the first person from Golden Valley and have others that are being set up. Joni will be one of those that we're talking to very in the near future here. So that project is underway as well. I'm going to have Shannon come out in just a second and talk a little bit about news, but I quickly wanted to mention a couple things that relate to what you've talked about today, and we have a couple slides to show this. One of the things that we're working on is, obviously over the years we have worked very closely with the cities on working with your equipment in your council meetings, equipment replacement, also producing those meetings, producing video clips for you. As we evolve, we are seeing that for us as an organization, you saw it in our stats, the social media website is very, very important. And we are thinking, can we offer some of those services to the cities as part of this joint powers agreement to assist you with your reaching and being known by all to your city residents through Facebook, through your website. So what we have started to do, and we piloted with Maple Grove and are now working with Brooklyn Park and also going to be talking to Robbinsdale as well, is we have Steve Brockhouse on staff who has worked with us on Google Analytics and ways to look into the back end of what is my website doing? Am I reaching my residents? What are they looking at? There's a lot of information in the background that we can help cities find and look at, not only on the part with the website, but also with Facebook. And certainly that's where people are finding information now. And if we can help you be more effective with your Facebook, we want to do that. So we are looking to meet with the cities to offer that as an additional service as, again, things evolve. This is the Google Analytics page that we look at through our website. The next slide talks a little bit about how we put that into a statistical form. And so this is something that we have offered to do with each city, and again have started that with Maple Grove and also with Brooklyn Park. So you can have some stats, so you can talk to your cities and say, this is what our website is doing. This is how it has grown. This is who's using our website or our Facebook page. And the third slide talks a little bit about Maple Grove's Facebook, and it was mentioned earlier, something called native uploading. So we produce all of these video clips, but in the world of Facebook, Facebook likes it and sends things out more if you upload the video to your own Facebook page. And so we have been working with Maple Grove and also Brooklyn Park on uploading their videos to their own Facebook page. So they have given us some editor control to be able to do that. We put it in a draft form. The city then can push it out. It's hard to see with this clip, but this was something from Maple Grove's event that they had for a winter celebration. And in one day's time, it had over 1,000 views of that video because it was natively uploaded to their Facebook page. Again, so another service that we can provide to the cities. So we'll be talking to your communications people about that and also city managers, I'm sure, down the road. So that is a quick update on something we're moving with there. Shannon, we'll talk a little bit about news. You have something in your booklet that talks about some of the changes in the format. Shannon?
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. If you're an avid CCX news consumer, and I trust that you all are, you've probably noticed something a little bit different happening this week. We are trying to be a little more intentional about how we send out content. We're still going out and getting the same stories we always have in the community, what's important to the cities, what's important to the schools, but the difference is we're just pushing it out in a different way. First, on the channel, someone can tune in 7 days a week at the same time and see or learn something new. Previously, we only pushed out new content about 5 days a week. Now we have something new on every single day. And then secondly, and perhaps more importantly, we're trying to pivot to be much more intentional about how we send things out on our digital platforms. We know that people check in on their smartphones around their lunch hour, and they sit at home on the couch and they look at their smartphones as well. So we're trying to make sure they have new content from the news department in their social media feeds during those strategic times. We work very hard on what we do. As you guys know, I'm preaching to the choir here. So we want as many eyeballs to see that content as possible. So we're just changing a few things about how we push out that information so as many people as possible can see it. And finally, if you've got any great story ideas, we are always looking. Just this last week, Mr. Riley Grahams gave me a call, let me know that they had a 92-year-old employee who was retiring.
Wow.
And I don't know about you. Mike, I will not be here when I'm 92. You have to find somebody new before then. So that was just a great people story that we might not have known about. So if you have anything in your sphere of influence or in your cities, don't be hesitant to give us a call. And now I'll turn this over to Barb.
Thank you, Shannon. I just wanted to give you a little quick update. Mike kind of referred to it earlier that CCX Create is working with nonprofits. And so I wanted to make you aware that in May, probably third week of May we're going to be offering a nonprofit open house here at CCX Create, and hopefully really encourage nonprofits to encourage them or make them aware of what we can do to help them with their outreach efforts. So that's something that we've got in the works. And also, I just wanted to quickly talk about a couple of nonprofits we're currently working with. We are working with Brooklyn Park Vet Center. We're very excited about that. They actually came in as a guest on one of our volunteers programs, and we're so excited about what they could possibly do with CCX Create that they are now really trying to do like a weekly outreach. And so we're very excited about starting to work with them because there's so many topics they feel that they can share not only with residents here but across the state. And also too, we're working with a smaller New Hope nonprofit called Minnesota Yes, which is a youth enrichment service, and we're going to be helping them to kind of start some programs for youth. And so we're excited about that. So we're working, and so if there are nonprofits in your area, we've kind of compiled a list, and if there are ones that we should be made aware of, please let us know. Thanks.
Thanks, Barb. That concludes the staff reports. And so is there anything else anyone needs to bring up? Otherwise,
Just one thing, we, hopefully you will all take the official CCX Media little notepad with you if you ever are in need of little Post-it notes, color-coded or otherwise. Display it proudly anywhere you want because we want to get the logo out there. And again, thank you for all your service to the board, and we'll have some extra ones to hand out at parades and so forth and so on.
okay. Otherwise, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.